great. How are you?
Great, great. Oh, all right. So, when did you start playing guitar?
I was 16 and my brother was going to France and I begged him. He had learned some chords and picking, about 15 different picking patterns. And I
Nice.
said, bro, I want to learn. Can you teach me? And like the last thing he wanted to do is teach his little sister to play. So I begged him and he said, okay. So he gave me a chart of freight train, cassette tape, a thumb pick, and his guitar, and
Wow,
said, "Here you go. If you can learn this by the time I get back, I'll teach you." It
that's
was the
crazy.
hardest thing he knew. Yeah. So he went off to France to study at the Sorbonne for about 6 weeks, and by the time he came back, I had freight train down. I go, "Here you go, bro," and I played it for him, and he said, "I guess I have to teach you." So he taught me all his chords and all the patterns. And the following summer, he was going to France again to study. And he was teaching at a studio called Music Masters in Southampton, Pennsylvania. And
Oh,
the owner said, "Hey, Steve, you can't keep going off to France each summer and leaving me with a whole roster of students." And he said, "No problem. My sister can do everything that I can do." And so I started teaching when I was 17. Yeah.
cool. That's very cool. That's very cool. Cool, cool, cool. How did you come up with the nickname you gave yourself?
The Bunny Barnes.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. That's a fun nickname.
Well, Barnes is my married name. Um, so I get that honestly from my husband. And the bunny came from when I was 1 year old. My cousin gave me a stuffed bunny,
Oh,
and I carried it with me till I was 12. And people made fun of me, and then I put it on the shelf and assumed its identity.
that's very cute. That's a very touching and adorable story. I like that. How long have you been playing guitar for?
Well, since I was 15 now, but when when he started teaching me, I was 15, I guess. Played I sang and I did picking styles and I accompanied myself singing. Chords, I
Nice.
had all these charts with words and chords and all these 15 different picking styles like Travis and Cotton and just plain arpeggio and 3 4 4 4 different styles, and I could accompany myself singing anything. And then I had the unfortunate happening in 2006, 7, 2000, October 2006, when I got vocal cord cancer and
Oh, sorry
could
to hear
not
that.
sing anymore. I had a 2.5 octave range singing, and I couldn't sing anymore, at
Oh,
least the way I had been accustomed to. And so I was really ready to give up, and that's when I wrote a letter to Tommy Emmanuel, and the amazingly kind man that he is. 3 days after I wrote that letter, he called me and said, "Don't give up." I said, I wrote in the letter that I was so upset and depressed that I wanted to take my guitar and smash it against the nearest tree.
oh,
And
man.
he called me 3 days later and said, "Don't give up. Let the guitar be your voice, and I want to hear you play when I'm in town in 6 months." And that was the impetus I needed to start learning his tunes. And he was good to his word. And he met me 6 months later and gave me a lesson backstage at LBI at the Surflight Theater. And I started studying with him. Yeah,
Phenomenal. That's a phenomenal story.
I'm
Wow.
very lucky to have been touched by one of the greatest. And now he's a good friend and mentor and teacher. And I'm very fortunate. And the cancer, knock wood, is gone.
There you go. That's good. Some cancers are really hard to get rid of. That's good that you're able to get rid of that. That's a very good thing.
I had 5 surgeries in 2.5 years to get rid of it. Yeah, it was
Well,
very
at least it was
tenacious.
possible.
Yes, I had a very, and I still can speak. I mean, there were doctors who wanted to do a laryngectomy on me and take out my voice box. But I had a very good friend who did research for me, and she found a doctor at Cleveland Clinic who
Oh,
said he could do, and they wanted to do radiation on me, and the doctor I was using in Philly was using scissors and scalpel, and they were cutting the tumor away, and that was damaging my vocal cords, and it's why I went from a 2.5 octave range to about 7 notes. And this friend of mine Sherry Wright, had done some research and found a doctor who's claimed that he could do in 2 to 3 hours with cryosurgery, freezing and laser, what radiation would do in 6 to 7 weeks. He could do it in 2 to 3 hours. And so when the doctor at Drexel Hill said that I needed radiation, she happened to have been the one that was with me, and she said, "Come on, let's go. We're going to Cleveland." And we did. We up and my brother drove me up to Cleveland 2 weeks later, and they were the ones that cured me.
Wow.
Dr. Marshall Strome, he's a genius.
That's phenomenal. That's a phenomenal story.
Yeah, I was very lucky.
Yeah,
Just blessed. I had a
absolutely.
lot of people praying for me, and lucky that my friend did the research, and lucky that Dr. Strome was doing this experimental surgery at Cleveland Clinic. He since has
Absolutely.
relocated to New York. He's in Manhattan, and now he does transplants, laryngeal transplants, on people who have cancer and lose their voice box, and they take a voice box from a cadaver, and people who don't have a voice wake up speaking. Yeah,
That's amazing.
quite amazing, amazing stuff that they're doing nowadays. I'm
Yes,
just one of
yes.
the lucky ones. I didn't need radiation. I didn't need chemo. Cured through the cryosurgery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, where do you record your tracks at? You know, like your guitar playing and your singing?
The first CD that I did was done at a friend's house. It was a vocal. Dennis Parrish did my first when I was doing singing. He did that CD. Now I
Nice.
record. My new CD is coming out hopefully by June or July, and I recorded with Jay Ansel. He's in Doylestown, I believe. I'm not sure of the name. I think it's Cheesy. Wait, I have that. Raleigh Brown also records at his studio.
Very
Cheesy,
cool.
Cheesy Road Studios.
Easy Roads Studios.
Cheesy Road.
That's funny. Like
Jay's
that
an
name.
amazing,
Pretty silly.
amazing engineer. Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sure.
he did his own CD, Cheesy Tunes You Never Want to Hear. All these old things like Tie a Yellow Ribbon, and he did all these great arrangements of tunes that you never want to hear them again. But they were really great arrangements. I really enjoyed his CD.
That's really cool. Nice.
I did a short CD. I had started the CD probably around 2015 with a guy named Dan Faga from Sellersville Theater. Um, he brought his equipment to my house, and we recorded on my porch. I had done a couple cuts with a guy named Dave Ramage in his studio, um, but none of them stuck. I really wasn't happy with where I was as a player at the time, and I started this current one before the pandemic, and and then it got shut down. And so I started recording again when things opened up. And now I have about 13, 14 cuts down, maybe one or two to go, and it should be ready to go.
Well, there we go. That's what matters. That's great.
It should be a pretty amazing. One of the tunes I'm doing um, is "Going Home." It's actually a piece by Dvorak, based on
Oh,
his ninth symphony,
oh,
New World.
classical
New World.
piece. Very nice.
Yeah, well, sort of. Yeah, it is. He is certainly classical. And my arrangement is actually based on Parker Hastings' arrangement. And Tommy Emmanuel has a string quartet called Endless Road Strings, who have done a string arrangement behind him, behind Parker Hastings. And I've taken Parker's arrangement, and I bought the arrangement from Tina Simpson of Endless Road Strings, and I had a local quartet, Strings Fantastique, who are recording it behind me.
Wow.
So the whole thing is a solo album, except for this one where I'll have the string quartet behind me, and I'm in the process of negotiating with Richard Smith to do a tune with me on the CD.
That's very
I don't know if
cool.
you know Richard Smith, but Richard Smith is a phenomenal guitarist.
I bet. I
and a
bet.
fabulous hairstylist. Yeah.
That's good to know. That's good to know. So, if anyone is interested in purchasing your music or streaming your music, where can they find it?
I don't have it yet. I don't stream anything yet, and I don't have the CD done yet. But my website is bunnybarnes.com, and so they can go to YouTube and find things there.
Yeah, go to
They
YouTube,
can
guys. Go to YouTube.
go,
Check her out.
they
She's
can,
great.
they can go to bunnybarnes.com. There's a button that links you right to YouTube. There's a button that links you to my Facebook page, and they can listen to my Two for Friday at 4 there. All of my past Two for Fridays at 4, which is my live stream that I do every Friday, they can hear that through. I post them to YouTube after they're done.
Wow. Okay. All right. You get that, guys? Follow her on YouTube, and you can go to her Facebook too. She's fabulous. Check her out. And she's very kind, as you can see from the interview. Very kind person. Do you plan on releasing any music videos with your music down the road?
Well, there are already so many videos on YouTube of me playing. Every tune that's going to be on the CD is already on YouTube. Whether or not I'll take that and have some music video made from that or not, I don't know. I haven't even thought that far ahead. Getting
Fair
the
enough.
CD out is my priority right now. But maybe, who knows? Time will tell.
There
It's
you go.
certainly something that's worthy looking into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Music videos are dope. They're a very cool
Yeah.
way to express the song and what it's about, and like have a green screen in the background. You're doing something cool, have some cool scenery. Yeah, be
I
dope.
need to find some real professional people to do that for me. As you can see, I have no green screen.
So, what type of mics do you use to capture your sound in your track?
Um, you mean in the studio? I have no
Mm-hmm.
clue. In the studio, I have no clue. But here at home, this is a an Audio Technica, and I
You want to
use the
show
filter
the
straight.
viewers here if they're interested in the market for something like that?
I'm really not a technical person. This was recommended to me. It's an Audio Technica.
That's a nice one. It's like the SM58 from Shure. It's
It,
like that.
it was recommended by Brian Huff.
What do you enjoy doing besides playing music? Like, what activities do you enjoy doing?
I like taking pictures. I'm a big photography buff.
Awesome.
I had a former life before this. When I was young, I mean, I played guitar and sang in coffee houses and restaurants, and I was in a girl band. I mean, there's a whole lot of history that I can go into with that if you're interested.
Absolutely.
Of
Go
my
into
early,
it. The floor is all yours. We'd love to hear it.
um, well, when I started, I was with a girl band um, that um, there were four of us.
Oh,
We had three guitars, tambourine, four-part harmony. We called ourselves the Torresdale Junction, and when we would play at clubs, and we did that for about 3 or 4 years. And we also used to play at a restaurant called 1700 Club. We were probably 19 or so, and we met a group of guys who were playing. There was a ship off of the where the restaurant was. It was on a dock. The 1700 Club is on the Delaware River,
wow.
and there was a ship stationed there, and the band was six guys. They were playing below deck on the ship, and on breaks we would get together and talk. And eventually we joined a duo. Three of us, three of the girls, and three of the guys got together. They were the sound barriers, and we got together and joined a group called Summerfield. And that's where I first learned to play some drums. And
Wow.
we would do some rock tunes, and I played drums there. I played guitar, and that was a full band. And we did that for a couple years. But that kind of started me on playing drums as well. And I I always had an urge to play drums when I was in high school. I asked the high school band director if I could take drum lessons, and he said, "No, we don't want any girl drummers." That's all you have to tell me. Really. I mean, you're talking about 1960s, like late 60s. I graduated high school 68, so this is in early, 60, about 65 or so. He said, no, we don't want girl drummers. So I always wanted to play drums. And when we joined this band, and Bobby Fee was really good about showing me different beats and things, I really wanted to play. And so I did some drumming in that band. And then after that broke up, I really wanted to learn drums. So I asked my brother Mark is a real genius. I have two brothers. Steve was playing guitar. He taught me guitar. My brother Mark is a keyboard genius. And he can play, I mean, he can play anything. He can read anything. He is an amazing keyboardist. And he sings as well. And I said to Mark, I said, if I learn to play drums, can we be in a band together? And he said, sure. So I kind of like, I learned every beat I could probably. I didn't have a drum set, but at the time I was going to college, and I studied to be a German teacher. And in 1972, I got my first job teaching German. And I usually taught middle school most of my career. And the first paycheck, I went and bought myself a set of drums and set it up in my mom's living room. She was thrilled. She was a good egg, man. I could tell her everything. She was wholeheartedly behind anything I wanted to do with music. My dad was a piano player and ukulele player. He was one of the original ukulele Ikes. Do you know Ukulele Ike? You remember that name at all?
No,
Ukulele
I don't.
Ike, he was a ukulele player in the 20s. And before there was Coast to Coast Radio, his real name was Cliff Edwards.
Fascinating.
So your older viewers will know this. Cliff Edwards was Ukulele Ike in the 20s, and before there was Coast to Coast Radio, they had what they called regional Ukulele Ikes. People in different cities who could perform just as Ukulele Ike did. And my dad, Jack Sherman, was the regional Ukulele Ike, and for Philadelphia. And so I come by it honestly. He played ukulele and he played piano. My brother Mark picked up the piano, and my brother Steve picked up the ukulele and guitar. And my mom, Maisie, used to say she was the producer. She had a beautiful voice, and I could do anything. Anything I wanted. They both encouraged me to be anything I wanted to be. And so there I was with my drum set in their living room, trying to learn every kind of beat I could learn. And then I said, okay, Mark, I got my drum set. Let's go. And so we went out. I had it set for a month. And we went out and we started doing gigs. It was like a little, Carpenter thing. He was playing keyboard and I was playing drums. We were both singing just like the Carpenters. I had hair down to my waist. Right. Had hair down to my waist, and people would think I was Karen Carpenter. It was really fun.
That is fun.
And we would do gigs in the neighborhood bars and restaurants, and we got to a gig where it was like a wedding, and this couple came up. It was a three-person gig. It was my brother Mark on keyboard, Ed Flanagan on guitar, and this couple came up and said, "Hey, can you do a cha-cha?" And I'm like, "What's a cha-cha?" Like, I knew a couple rhythms. I didn't know. I could do like slow, fast, and like I didn't know all these exotic beats. I said, like, "What's a cha-cha?" So Ed came over and said, "Here, just do this." Bum, ding, bum, bum, ding. Okay, fine. So I did that. Got through that song. Then they came up and they said, "Hey, can you do a merengue?" Like, what's that? Did that. "Hey, can you do a tango?" So I got through that gig. And at the time, I said I was teaching at Music Master Studio. I was teaching guitar. And the guy next to me was a drum teacher, Ronnie DiStefano. And I went over to Ronnie. I said, "Hey, Ronnie, write out 2 measures of every beat I need to know to play a gig." And so he did. Bossa Nova, tango, merengue, cha-cha, everything I needed to know to play a gig. Sticker, 6/8. And I learned that. And then from that point on, everything I did was by ear. And I was in a lot of different bands. The Light Years was my first rock band without my brother. and in my later years was Friends 4. And I did that for probably 20 years, where I played drums and sang lead in the bands.
Wow.
And so it was a really, really fun time in my life. And in the meantime, I was teaching German at different schools. I didn't have a steady job for the first 15 years. It was all long-term subs. I couldn't get a contractor position. It was a time of life when teachers, there was an overload of teachers coming out of college, and there weren't very many positions open. And so I couldn't find a steady job. So I was supplementing that by playing in the bands, teaching guitar in studios, teaching adult ed courses, folk guitar courses. But still, guitar was always my first love. And I'll tell you another interesting story. It was around that same time when I first started learning guitar. Doc Watson was just my absolute hero, because here he was blind, and he couldn't see what he was playing, and yet he was such a wizard at guitar. I mean, Doc was just an amazing guitarist. And so I would listen to everything he did, and I would do that thing with the records. You know, we had records back then.
Oh yeah, records. They're coming back.
They're coming back now, I know.
Pretty
but
sick.
I'd take that out, I'd put it back, I'd put the needle on, and I'd listen to a measure, and I'd play it on my guitar, and I'd put the needle back on and take it off, and I'd play the next measure. And by the end of the cut, you know, you couldn't play the record anymore. It was so scratchy from doing that, but you could play the tune. So it didn't matter. You had the tune down. But Doc was really my hero. And around that time that I started teaching in my first year teaching, there was a school that I would go past. It was the Bucks County Association for the Blind. And I decided I wanted to write to Doc. And so I went into the school and I said, hey, I want to write to this blind guy, and can you show me how to do that? And so they gave me a little stylus and a punch for Braille. And they gave me the Braille alphabet.
Wow.
And a piece of tag. And they said, here you go, take the alphabet and you punch in the words that you want and send it to him, see what he says. So I go home and I diligently punch out this letter telling him that he's my hero. And about a couple months later, he came to Philly. And I had seen him before, of course, but I had never had enough guts to approach him. And so here I am. It was a theater down in Philly, and I went to the stage door, hanging out by the stage door, hoping that somebody might come to the stage door and see me and ask about me, you know. And so this guy comes out on the landing, and I could recognize Merle Watson. It's his son. And I said, are you Merle? And he says, are you Bunny? And I said, I am. Like, I guess, they saw the return address and they knew who to ask for. And I must have said at some point that I was coming to Philly, that I lived at. I could see the return address in Philly. And the show was down, I think it was the Walnut Street Theater or Schubert Theater or something like that. And he said, my dad wants to meet you.
Wow, that's so cool.
So I went into the stage area, and he handed me his guitar, and I played Windy and Warm for him. And he said, that was real good. That was really, really good. You're doing really well. And he said, but I want to ask you about the letter you sent. And I said, oh, yeah, anything you want. He said, well, it must have been grade 2 Braille, because I couldn't read it, and I only read grade 1 Braille. And I'm thinking, I don't know what grade 1 Braille is. How could that be? And so I said, he said, well, what did the letter say? And I said, well, I said that you were my hero. And he said, young'un, I ain't better than nobody else. I just been picking longer than anybody else. You just keep at what you're doing. You said, you're doing a really fine job. And so I went back to the school and I said, what was he talking about? Grade 1, grade 2 Braille? He said, well, they said, what did you do? I said, well, I took your alphabet and I punched the letters into the yoke tag. And they said, it's Braille. They read the bumps. So when you punch those letters in, they read the other side. And I was basically punching it in from left to right like you would English But when they turned it upside down and back, it was all backwards. When you punch in a Braille note, you have to punch the letters in from right to left, sort of like Hebrew. Right to left, and letters have to be backwards so that when they flip that oak tag around, they read it from left to right. They never told me that when they gave me the punch originally. So from that point on, I did write him a bunch of letters, and he could read them, and he was such a sweet man. Every time he came to town, he would always make time for me down at the Main Point. I'd go downstairs and meet him before the show, and after the show, we'd sit and we'd talk for an hour before show, and he'd always give me a shout out from the stage, and just a really, really sweet guy. I once made, his wife was Rosalie, and Michael T was the bass player. Michael T's still around. Michael T. Coleman is still doing, T. Michael Coleman is still doing some of his tunes. He's got a website that's devoted to Doc, and he just put out a CD of all of Doc's tunes. It's a really, really cool CD. His wife is Rosalie, and I made a huge leather heart, and I used carpet tacks to put in the letters for Doc and Rosalie, and I sent him that. Hung on his wall for years. Yeah, so Doc was a really special start to my guitar career. And then, of course, I met Tommy. I mean, there were other people along the way. I met Roy Buckbinder. I actually dated Roy Buckbinder for a while and learned a lot of his tunes and got a lot of different things under my belt. I've been through a lot of different styles of music. And I guess, and I did a lot of singing mostly until the cancer in 2007. And then I
started back up recently.
Instrumental guitar because I couldn't sing anymore. But for all those years, I was a German teacher. And guitar kind of went by the wayside. I would take the guitar into school and I would play for the kids. I would do German tunes like Puff der Zauberdrachen lebte am Meer. And they loved it. Puff the Magic Dragon in German, who wouldn't love that?
Great song, yeah.
And it was a great way to teach.
Absolutely.
Teach German.
Absolutely.
Kids really related to the things, and I guess they thought I was a pretty cool teacher because I had a guitar and had hair down to my waist.
Kids love the guitar. I loved the guitar when I was a little kid.
And when I taught, I used a lot of different modes of music to teach. Like I taught pronouns and the verb to be to singing, and I used sign language, like der Regenbogen, the rainbow, and all I would have to do is this, and the kids would say der Regenbogen. They knew it. It's tapping into bodily kinesthetic intelligences, and the songs, like I would do pronouns to chorus line, like ich, I, do, you, singular, familiar, er, sie, es, he, she, it, wir, we, ihr, you, plural, familiar, sie, they, sie, you, singular, plural, polite, eins, zwei, ich, I have kids on Facebook today. I taught them maybe 40 years ago.
That's phenomenal.
And they'll say, Frau, I can still sing those songs. It's amazing. That musical rhythmic instructional strategy taps into their different intelligence, that they remember things years and years later. So it's music is just
a
wonderful tool. Yeah. So it's been a really rewarding career. I did finally get a permanent position in '86, and I taught in the Souderton School District for 27 years. Total teaching was 37 years teaching German, and I did use the guitar. And then somewhere around 2004, I started singing in coffee houses again while I was teaching, and then I lost my voice, so I came back as an instrumental guitarist and playing in restaurants again. So it's been a really great transition, supported by everyone.
That's amazing.
And I've been very, very fortunate. Last year, I was fortunate enough to be asked to play at the Chet Atkins Convention in Nashville on main stage. I
What
don't know
an
if you know
honor.
about the Chet Atkins. Do you know about the Chet Atkins?
No, I don't.
The Chet Atkins Appreciation Society. Um, they support the music of Chet Atkins, all this fingerstyle music, and they have an association in Nashville that they have a convention every year. That's a 4-day convention that has fingerstyle guitarists from all over the world come and play Chet's music and all the different fingerstyle tunes that you can ever imagine.
Incredible.
And I was lucky enough to play on stage last year for the convention. And I guess the pandemic has really been a blessing because it got me to get my music out there even more. There's a singer-songwriter in Australia named Anthony Snape, and he was doing his live stream during the pandemic. And he just broached the question, what are you going to do in the new year? And that was New Year's in 2021. And I just wrote in the chat saying, I'm going to do a live stream. And some of my friends who were also in the stream said, I'll be there. And that's what started my 2 for Friday at 4. And I just finished my 54th live stream. So it's been great. Yeah, and another thing that came from that was the open mics. The open mics that I've done. I did an open mic for the Philadelphia Folk Fest, the Philadelphia Folk Song Society.
Nice.
And yeah, one of the open mics that I did, they had an audition for the Folk Fest, and they liked my music so much that I won a slot at the Folk Fest this coming August. So I'll be playing at the Philly Folk Fest.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it's really nice feather in my. I'm real excited about that too.
I would be too. That sounds great. Like a great opportunity.
It is. I can't wish for anything more right now. I mean, sure, I'm hoping to be back at the Chet Atkins convention this year. I hope that's in July, so maybe I'll be back there.
There you go.
I hope also November. I'm hoping this was supposed to happen in 2020, but I was asked to open for Clive Carroll.
Wow, what an honor.
You know Clive? Clive is an amazing fingerstyle guitarist from Ireland. And he's coming to the Philadelphia area.
Very cool.
And his manager, Gina Mendello, used to be Tommy's manager, asked me if I would open for Clive. And that was 2020, and that was all postponed, of course. But supposedly,
because of COVID, yeah.
Right. Supposedly I'll be opening for him in November. So we'll see.
Well, yeah, we will. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's the excitement in my life right now. Getting my CD done. Getting prepared for the future. Making sure I'm ready for everything.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that I do is I have a duo with a friend of mine. Her name's Sue Roncaroni. She and I were both teachers at the same time. She was a French teacher and I was a German teacher. And we have formed a duo called Time Travelers 2. And we perform at senior centers and senior residences, private parties as well, libraries, museums. And we do music, what's called Music of the Decades. We have special programs like Christmas shows and St. Paddy's Day shows, Valentine's Day shows, patriotic shows. And some of that is also on my YouTube channel. And Sue and I do duos that bring the people of the older, it's hard for me to say older generation, I'm almost there, I mean, I'm there. But even older than we are, because we're both retired now, takes them back to a time when they remember. We do songs from late 1800s through about 1940. And you know, the reason I wanted to mention this is that it takes people back to some amazing places. We had a woman at one of the shows that we played who hadn't spoken in years. And Time Travelers 2 went in there and did this show. And this woman started singing along with the songs that we were singing. And her daughter was blown away. She said, I haven't seen Mom say a word in 5-6 years. And now she's singing and saying every word of every song we're doing. So it's amazing. We hand out rhythm instruments, we hand out song sheets, and these folks, it brings them back to a time when they can remember, because a lot of them have beginnings of Alzheimer's, sometimes advanced Alzheimer's, and sometimes they come in wheelchairs, and this is like the most fun that they've had in months. We hand out the rhythm instruments, they play along, they sing along with what we do, and it's just a really rewarding thing for us to play for the old folks. So I'm really glad that you gave me the opportunity to say that.
Any advice that you've been given throughout your years?
Sure. Enjoy what you do. Like I feel like I'm in the happy business. Somebody made a comment the other night. You know, it's really great to do concerts or live streams where people are really tuned into what you're doing, and listening to every note that you play. I mean, that's just a real honor. But if you're just starting out, you have to start somewhere. First of all, if you don't enjoy it, don't do it. Like, I love playing. I love my own arrangements. If I don't enjoy a certain arrangement, I'm not going to play it. I've only really written one tune so far on the instrumental thing. I used to write things when I was singing, but I haven't really come up with a whole lot of original music in the instrumental side. But the arrangements that I do, most of the arrangements are mine. And if they're boring, I don't want to play them. If it's something that I don't enjoy, I'm not going to want to do it. So first of all, do what you love what you do. You know, if you're going to go into this business, you got to love doing it. You don't want to see anybody up there who's like, if you've watched my live streams, you know, you'll see that I really enjoy doing what I do. Any of my live streams or any of my live performances, you'll always see me enjoying. And I got a lot of that from Tommy Emmanuel. When I was really depressed out of my gourd with this vocal cord cancer, one of the things that I did was I went online and I found people who were happy playing. And Tommy was one of the ones that really drew my attention, because he's always happy when he's performing. And he exudes happiness. And that makes you happy. And when I was so depressed, that's what I would do. I would watch him, because that made me forget about my depression and my condition and took me to another place. And that's what I hope to do for people when I play, is that they're having a bad day. Let me give them a little happiness. I'm in the happy business. So, you know, it's really all good for advice for people who are starting out. You got to start somewhere. So you might want to start out with a tip jar and going into some place like, you know, Starbucks or a coffee house, and even on the street, if they're allowed. I mean, you got to check that out. Make sure you don't need a permit. But going somewhere and opening your case and just start playing. And if people like your music, they'll put money in your jar. And but you have to invest the time. You're going to have to do the legwork. You have to call places, find out if they're going to let you play. And in the beginning, you know, you might have to just play for tips. But there comes a point where you have to make that decision of, are you just going to play for tips anymore? Or do you think you're good enough? And do people like you enough to come pay to hear you play? And then where are you going to do that? Are you going to try to find a concert hall? My choice has been to continue playing in restaurants and wineries. And somebody made a comment. I posted a video that was taken at a restaurant that I played at. And you know, people are there to enjoy a meal and enjoy the drink and enjoy the company. And so there's a lot of talking going on. They're not just going to be sitting there like at a concert, silent, watching you. You got to expect that they're there to have a good time. They're there to have a meal. They're there to meet their friends, and they're going to be talking. So if you're of that mindset that you want people to listen to you, then that's not the place for you. But in my mind, it's kind of like a paid practice. You know, you get to a point where you're not going to play for tips anymore. You can still put that tip jar out. But you're good enough that you go into that restaurant and you say, yeah, I want to be paid a certain amount now to play in your restaurant. I'm good enough. I'm going to bring people in for you. On the other hand, it's not your job to bring in people. It should be the restaurant's job. The restaurant should have a good enough reputation and good enough food to bring in the people. They shouldn't rely on you to bring in the people. Because I might have an email list with 400 names on it, but I can never guarantee that restaurant that 400 people are going to show up. I can't even guarantee them that 2 are going to show up. Sure, I usually have somebody come out for my gigs, but that's not my job. My job is to give them the good music, and that when people come to their venue to enjoy and have a good time with their wine or their food, I'm there to give them a good experience. And so part of that good experience is them enjoying it. People were saying on this, people posted some things about the video that I posted saying like, why aren't they listening? They're all so noisy there. Why aren't they paying attention to you? I said, oh, they are. I'd rather play for a garbage truck. I'm going like, you know what? Garbage trucks don't tip. These people might not seem like they're listening, but they are. And when I finish a tune, they applaud. I know they heard me. And when they leave for the night, they put a tip in my jar. And in addition to that, the venue pays me to play there. So, you know, it's kind of like, even if I make a mistake, it's kind of okay because, I mean, it's not okay for me. I don't like it. But mostly in general, people aren't going to hear that mistake because there is a lot of background noise. If I'm in a concert situation, I'm aiming to not make a single mistake. Of course, that's kind of like that's what I do. I'm there to entertain, and I'm there to make the best of my situation. So if you're starting out, you know, play because you love it. Right. Get songs. Don't play songs that you don't love. Play songs that you love. Play arrangements that you love. Play things that you really want to play. Because if you don't, the people that you're playing for are going to see that. They're going to know that you don't enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, they're not going to enjoy it. You need to enjoy what you're doing so that they can enjoy the experience too.
Good note. Good note. All right. Do you want to play? That was outstanding advice, guys. Yeah, keep your head up. That's pretty much the summary of that. Thank you for that awesome interview. Do you want to play some music for us?
Sure. I'm going to plug in on this.
Sure. Whatever you want to do.
Put my headphones on.
You guys are in for a treat. She's really good.
It's a little trick I learned from somebody at Cast. This is a thumb pick, if some people haven't ever seen one. And it brings out your bass notes. And sometimes your thumb pick will kind of move around. And I think it was Tom Bresh at Cast said one time, wet your thumb, and it makes it stick like glue. Little tip for anybody out there who wants to use a thumb pick. Get this, so I'm going to get back a little bit so you can see my guitar. You don't really need my mic because I'm an instrumental guitarist. Here's a tune by Tears for Fears. Gary Jules wrote it in the 80s, and it was the theme for Donnie Darko. And actually, the reason I learned it was because my German students said, "Hey, Frau, can you play Mad World?" I said, "No, I don't, but I'll learn it for you." Mad World.
That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Of course, the phone. Oh, good. Thank you. That's one thing I always have to remember, is take the phone off the hook. I hope that didn't come out at the end there.
No, the guitar pretty much drowned it out. I didn't hear any phone.
Oh, good. There. It's off now. I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, guys, she's great. She's great. Go subscribe to her YouTube channel. She's phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Do you have more questions for me?
No, pretty much done with the questions. I only had 12 questions. I have generic questions I always ask in every interview. You know, I change it a little bit to adapt to the person I'm interviewing, but then a little bit of music is fine. You can do another song if you'd like.
This is a tune by Davy Graham. Probably as many ways to spell the song as there are arrangements out there, as there are artists who've done it. I think John Renborn's done it, Clive Carroll, Paul Simon, and it's called Angie. This is my arrangement. It's probably not as the composer intended. It's my arrangement.
That was outstanding.
Thank you. Both of
Yes.
those tunes will be on the CD when it comes out.
Outstanding. Outstanding. When will the CD come out so the viewers will know and get hyped?
Hopefully in June, and I haven't all figured all that out yet, but I'm hoping to link it to my website.
All right.
People can get it through that. And again, that's bunnybarnes.com. Easy to find.
All right.
BUNNYBARNES. Don't forget the E in there. So
No problem. This has been a pleasure and a wonderful interview. I look forward to hearing you play in person when I'm in the area.
I hope so.
I'd love to come down there.
Located?
I'm in Saline right now.
Where's Saline?
Saline's right near Ann Arbor. You know Ann Arbor and Detroit?
Oh, all right. Yeah.
I'm around that area. I'm like 30 minutes away from Detroit.
Well, you need to come east.
I don't like the cold.
You need to come to Philly area.
Probably do that.
If there's anyone listening who's in this area, you can go to the website and see where I'm appearing.
Yeah.
All my gigs are listed on the website.
Yeah, if you guys are in Philly, go check her out. She's phenomenal, as you could hear from the wonderful playing there. Once again.
Thank you so much.
Outstanding.
Thank you, Jake. I so appreciate it.
No problem. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for this wonderful interview. I'm grateful, and the viewers are as well.
Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate you asking.
No problem. And if you want to tell us your YouTube channel name before you roll out, you can, and I can add that also through Canva into the official recording. That's going to be uploaded on the YouTube channel.
Bunny Barnes. If you put Bunny Barnes into YouTube, that's what comes up. You'll see my picture. But you can also get to the YouTube there when you go to my website, bunnybarnes.com. There's a button that takes you right to YouTube and takes you right to my videos.
Like try to take a vacation, come see you this summer. Check you out.
That'd be great. I'd love that. I hope some of the viewers out there will check out my tunes and come see me live and tell me that you saw me on Jake's Rhythm Lines.
On the Soundwave interview. Yeah.
Soundwave interview. It sounds so high tech. Soundwave.
That's why I came up with the name. It's such a cool name, and the logo is really cool too.
Yeah, it is. I like that.
It's simple, but it's what a Soundwave is. So there we go.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's very cool. So thank you so much, Jake. I really appreciate you asking. It was a very cool interview.
Once again, it's been a pleasure interviewing you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jake.
Yes, yes. I hope you can make it to the open mic I'm hosting. It's June 10th. I think I sent you the email through the message through
remember that.
Facebook. I can send it to you again, but it was an advertisement.
please.
So it's on Zoom
Yes.
and it's going to be in person at Ziggy's. Now, I know you can't attend in person, but you could always stream you in.
Great.
I'm going to have the green screen
What day of the
too.
week is that?
It's a Friday. I can always move it to a
Barring
different
any
day
gigs?
too. Huh?
Barring any gigs, I can be there. I'll put it down on my calendar, and if I don't have a live gig, I'll be there.
It's Friday, June 10th at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time, my time. I don't know what a time it is in Philly. I don't know what the time difference
You
is.
say Eastern time?
Eastern time, yes.
We're Eastern time. Philly
Oh,
Eastern
so we're about the same time difference then.
It's 3:05 right now.
It's about that here too. So I think we're the
So
same
we're
time
on the same
difference.
time zone.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, I'll put it on my calendar, and if I don't have a gig, I'll be there. Cool.
Yes.
Excellent.
All right.
You know what you're doing, dude.
That's right.
I appreciate that.
No problem. No problem.
Thanks so much. It was a great interview.
It was a pleasure doing it with you as well. I had a good time. This was great.
Okay. See you soon.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
You too.